In this video, I'm going to cover my 2 favorite physiotherapy stretches for Piriformis Syndrome. Hey everyone, I'm Sebastian at Performance Place Sports Care, part of the locally world famous chiropractors in Costa Mesa, California. In this video, we're going to cover just those 2 stretches, but to make sure that you're actually on the right video, let's just review the location of Piriformis Syndrome, but also know that the location is not an indicator that you actually have this problem. So you need to have an assessment if you actually want to know what you have. So the area that most people feel Piriformis Syndrome is going to be right into here. Some people will say it'll actually travel down the leg. If it does travel down the leg, the way you would remedy it is slightly different than what's in this video. So that's an advancement of the condition. I'm not talking about stuff into the thigh or into the back of the hamstring or into the SI joint or up into here. We're not talking about lower back pain. Just know that all of those problems may be associated to your problem, especially if they're around the same location and same intensity, and they seem to come on the same time of day, but you may want to check out our webinar on the corner to learn a little bit more about those parts. This video is intended purely for people who have the single location, which is pretty rare. Most people have a lot of different areas. At any point in time, if you want to work with us, we have a link in the description below for the video, which gives you access to us and different ways we can actually coach you virtually or in person. So let's get on to the stretches. So the first stretch that everybody's probably familiar with is going to be some version of this pigeon stretch. Now I say pigeon because it's really not your standard pigeon. It's just really what feels best for you. And so what we're looking for is a stretch on the area right into the deep part of the gluteal region. To note, we're not looking for any increase in symptom. This should not feel like, oh, that feels so bad but so good. That shouldn't be happening. It should just feel like a pretty firm stretch. It should feel close to the other side. So if you did the opposite side and tested that too, it should feel the same. So we're just going to take the hip at a nominal angle here, and then adjust to the position that works best for your body. Some people will do okay with this. I can tell right now that I'm not going to, because I feel the crease in my hip starting to bind up. It should feel fairly free. And so I'm going to move this down and the foot back, and now I feel much better with that. Now I'm going to go into the hip hinge aspect of it at various different slots. And so for some people, that leaning forward like so here and actually using the hands as rudders works out well. But some people don't tolerate this slot. Some people tolerate this slot. Some people tolerate this slot. In the purest aspect of it, what we're kind of looking for is the spine to be straight, not rounded, straight. And then you're trying to lean the logo of your shirt down towards your knee, but again, not rounding the back to do so. And so what this is doing is creating a bend point at the hip. And if you're trying to stretch part of the hip, which is the piriformis, you want to make sure that the stretch doesn't go to your back or other areas. So just let it settle here, breathe into your flank, and then just spend about a minute or so there. Okay? Now, this shouldn't create any binding in the front of the hip. It shouldn't create any leg symptoms. It shouldn't create any back pain. It just should feel like a firm stretch. And if you're wondering if it's right or not, try the other side, because it'll probably feel the same. By the way, if you have bilateral Piriformis Syndrome, you probably don't have Piriformis Syndrome, in my experience. You have probably some type of back condition, which is super common to refer to the area and simulate Piriformis Syndrome. Okay, so that's just a side note, but link for the webinar if you are wondering more about that. Okay, you don't need that box. Old video. Okay, the other one we're going to do is a figure 4, kind of a figure 4 stretch here. For this is going to be my symptomatic side, and we're going to do the same thing, but now I'm laying on my back. The cool thing about doing this laying on your back version is it takes the spine sloppiness out of it. Since a lot of people will automatically dump the stretch into their low back, this arrests that. And so even people who have things like disc herniations or protrusions creating some of the phenomena of piriformis tension, this is a little bit safer for them. And so we're going to prop this guy up here. We're going to take this knee and then bring it across the body. Now keep in mind, this shouldn't create any binding in the hip either. And so people with things like labral tears, hip arthritis, hip FAI aren't going to tolerate this one. And there's other versions of things you can do if that was you, but it's probably not going to be as general as some of the stretches you might find on YouTube. So you're going to pull across your body, breathe into the flank again, and just relax. Hold for about 10 seconds, and then let it go. And then go again. Usually we have people do each stretch about 10 times, about 3 to 4 times a day, just to constantly relieve tension on this area. For some of you who have already been through the weeds with the Piriformis Syndrome, you may have run into things like tonic and phasic or lower upper cross syndrome. Yes, those are certainly part of it. And that's why doing exercises to encourage the phasic muscles, which is not the piriformis, it's the glutes and the abs and so on, to work. You want these to work a little bit better, so it spares the piriformis. It spares us of workload, and it removes the demand of it working more over time. And so there's obviously other exercises you should be doing. What exercises should you be doing? That comes down to an assessment. Some exercises make some people feel worse, while there's other ones that make them feel better. There's regressions and progressions of every exercise pattern. And so normally you want to do the hardest exercise that you can do well, because it creates your body, gets your body to adapt. And that's kind of what we want over time. If your goal is to improve the strength, why would you pick an exercise that's too easy for it? So it has to be a challenging exercise, but still done well and felt in the appropriate areas. We have examples of these on YouTube, but remember, we have general videos because we're talking about general problems. If you want specific things to do, we have a link in the description below where you can work with us if you'd like. We have virtual and in-person services. Common ones that people will use is clamshells and bridges, but remember, those don't work for everybody, but they are a good starting point. All right, guys, subscribe to the channel. Use the search bar if you want to find anything we have on YouTube. We have hundreds and hundreds of videos. We'll talk to you next time.